Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Johnny Jakson,
I'm
and
uh I'm Dr. Austin Vetter.
thanks for joining us today. We put together a little lecture about exocad, iVotion, and kind of the full mouth rehab solutions we've been working on lately. So I'm a digital designer, expert designer in exocad for Evolve Dentistry. Mainly, we've been using exocad to push forth the modern day dental laboratory and what that means for our practices that we work with.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about, IvoClear. They have a couple words that they always have under their logo, and it's passion, vision, and innovation. And that's something that Johnny and I are pretty passionate about. Um, I kind of want to go through a little bit of my story and how that passion, vision, and innovation kind of took place. So this is where I'm at currently, and this has been really fun for us. It's our new practice, 13 operatory, state-of-the-art practice, very cool. We get a lot of new patients just driving by it, and they're really enjoying it. But what they don't realize, but most people don't realize, is we have the main floor where they do the where we do the dentistry on. Upstairs, right where you see that Vetter logo, we actually have a full digital dental lab. So I'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. But you go to the next slide there, Johnny. This is where this is kind of where I started. This is my old office. There's my kids and my wife getting her teeth checked by me. But I just had I had this older office. Just wasn't I don't know. We got carpet on the floors and just that dental smell. And so it was a great office. It was a great starting point. But throughout this whole process, throughout my whole career, I've always had this like greater thought of like I love dentistry. I love digital dentistry. This isn't where it's at. I have a grander vision for this. So. You can go to the next slide, Johnny. So this is I included these slides. This is kind of, interesting. I had my first job. I actually worked in South Dakota for a little bit. I had my first job there. And towards the end of my associateship, I actually bought this computer from Best Buy, a used computer, because I had to save some money. And then I bought a Trios scanner, and I didn't even have to practice at the time. I just knew so strongly that I wanted a Trios scanner. I knew so strongly that intraoral scanning is so important to all these workflows. And this was the first step. And if you don't have an intraoral scanner, I'd really recommend getting one just because it makes these processes so easy. You can go to the next slide, Johnny. This is kind of a funny slide. I was actually looking back in my past here, looking for some pictures, and this one just really makes me laugh because it just shows, my passion for, digital dentistry started way at the beginning of my career, but I've always been interested in technology. And here's me messing around. I bought exocad, bought this Trios, and I scanned with the Trios my daughter's doll, and it's in color. And at the time, it just shows where we came from. The Trios could only scan, it could only export in like monochrome. You couldn't get color. I don't even think you could export STLs for a while. So it just shows where we come from, where we had more of a, the Trios is known as an open system, but at one point it was kind of locked down. Sirona was very locked down at the time. And so we've really opened up, and this, me being able to do this, I think I had to go into the Trios settings and their support settings. I somehow had the password for that. And I was able to, get these files out of it that you weren't supposed to be able to get out. So, I've always had this passion for just kind of essentially hacking, technology and hacking dentistry. So you go to the next slide, Johnny. Here's a post that I found that I posted a long time ago. I just said, hey, like, could we take an impression and scan it and essentially send it to a lab? They could invert it and make a prosthetic off of it. And so that was it's kind of funny. That was in 2017, and it's we're not that far off from 2017, but even then, that was this stuff, digital dentures. It was kind of in its infancy, and things are a lot different now. It's pretty, you hear people talk about 3D printed dentures or milled dentures. Like that wasn't really the case as much back then. There were options out there, but people weren't really thinking about that. This was pretty unique, and there wasn't very many. Actually, I don't think there was a single scanner on the market except the Trios that could scan an impression like this.
Right, right.
You
And
can go to the next.
yeah.
Here's just a quick picture of just, this was again like that, I think it was maybe in 2018 or so that I started getting the digital dentures. I used a different product at the time, but I was able to take, worn dentures, we scanned them, 360 scan. This is all very current stuff. A lot of people are doing this, but back in the day, it was very unique, and we would send that off, and I had a lot of good results with digital dentures. So my journey from digital dentures starts really early in my career, but it starts when I got my Trio scanner. So here we are. Here's some more pictures of my office. You can go to the next slide, Johnny. You can just kind of go through some of these. I'll tell you to stop if you need to, but it's a very cool office. If we're gonna have all this digital technology, it makes sense to have the office that can represent it. Really cool operatories, the open, no cabinetry and things like that really keeps things clean and allows you to bring in this technology. Let's go to the next slide. What else we got here? Here's the office. This is my office. I just included that. That's where I'm lecturing at right now. I'm kind of a fan of shoes, and I wear them to, every day a different pair. So, you can
Looks
keep
like you're a
going,
fan of the
John.
sixes.
What's that?
Looks like you're a fan of the sixes.
I do like the sixes. I like the 11s the most, so I think, and the 12s are pretty good too. Here's just a cool shot of the Trios. So that was my first scan of the Trios 3, and you can see the Trios 2. I never owned that, but the difference between the Trios 2 and the Trios 3. And then when we go to the next slide here, Johnny, you see this is a shot from our office, wireless scanning on a big 75-inch TV, LED indicators on the scanner to tell us if it's working or not. It's from where we were not that long ago to now is just, it's unreal. And it's so exciting. What an exciting time to be in dentistry. I love all these toys, and they really make going to work that much easier.
And how much easier for like your assistants is it to scan with such a large screen in front of them?
Oh, they love it. Well, and you can see there too. So she's looking there. She can turn to her right and look at the 75-inch TV. And then also we have a monitor on the left. That's where the screen sharing is taking place. So she can see both, from the left or the right. So the ergonomics are really nice. The scanner's so small, and so no, I'm not. This isn't a plug for 3Shape or Trios, but I just really like their products. But these, it's weird how these technologies can really complement our practices, and the aesthetic of my office, the aesthetic of the Trios, they kind of go hand in hand, and I think people notice that. So
Yeah, and the people could really see their teeth blown up on the screen.
it helps a lot. There's a lot of things that we are able to show patients, and they're always blown away by seeing that on this big screen.
Yeah.
Just a picture of, there's that again, the wireless scanning technology. That's so awesome. That's available now, and the intraoral scanner is so important to our practice. I guess that's another reason I showed that picture too is traditionally you're supposed to use like the laptop that's provided by the manufacturer. I choose to do these custom built gaming PCs, and that's what's so much fun about dentistry is there is really like a tried and true path for certain manufacturers. And like I can think of like, let's say Sirona, they have this nice little cart that has the CEREC on it and the CEREC scan or the Prime scan. Or you can go ahead and you can buy something like this, and you can kind of, pave your own path in this way. So it's really nice that there's different options out there, and there's other different products out there. And yeah, it's just a really good time to be in dentistry. You can go to the next slide, Johnny.
Yeah. I love the lettering. Everyone does the
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We got 3 Trio scanners now. Just a different contrast from when I first started. When we had one was corded. Now I have 3 wireless scanners, and they're being used every day. They're being run around. So yeah, really enjoying our scanners. So next slide.
The lab.
This is my favorite part of the office, and this is kind of, I can kind of flex a little bit, Johnny, because you're a lab guy. I'm a dentist, and I think most labs are like, in the past, there was a lot of labs that kind of looked at dentists and are like, yeah, you guys don't have the stuff that we have. And I was like, that's where at one point I was like, I got to invest in things that make us, because there must be something that they're on to, that they have certain workbenches and certain mills. And so we went all out, and we have the printers, we have the mills. Right there's a VHF 5-axis mill with a disc changer that can actually mill the iVotion dentures that we're going to talk about today. Really nice polishing center, and nice finishing center. So I really believe that if I was going to do this, I need to, if you have a nice area to work, it's gonna carry over to your work. So I really feel strongly about that. It needs to be clean, needs to be nice. You need to like where you're at versus like doing it in, like, let's say, a closet or something.
Yeah, this is exactly what we would use at the lab. The printers, the mills. It's awesome. So
Um,
appreciate it.
Yeah, I just wanted to show this. This is just where I'm at now. This is 3Shape Automate. It's a program that same day designs your crowns, and it's all AI. It's you don't do it. There's no human input into it. So that's kind of where my future is, I think, in dentistry is how do we use AI to solve some of these issues in our office. And we've been using now this AI with our crowns in the last, I think, year and a half, and we had nothing but spectacular results. So that's kind of the future of digital dentistry is this AI stuff. Still important to know these basic concepts, but yeah, AI is coming. It's coming fast. So.
So, with these crowns, how long does it take for it to design a single crown like this? You're doing
Yeah,
posterior units?
yeah, it's only so this is yeah, so for this particular product is 3Shape Automate. It takes 3 minutes. It costs a little bit of money. I think for my particular situation, it's $3 because I have the lab software. They actually came out with it. I just installed the beta software today on the Trios. So every Trios user pretty soon is going to have this software on their scanner and they can pay, I think, $13 per design. So it's pretty amazing that they can have a scanner and have no design software, no knowledge of design, and be able to do, output products like this.
Yeah,
So
like a crown. And you're making these do you take these designs and you're gonna mill them afterwards, or do you have your in-house tech adjust the design a little bit?
yeah, so most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time they're ready to go. Sometimes they have to maybe adjust the margin a little bit, which you can do in it. But then they send it right to the mill and we're milling it same day. We're firing it. We're doing zirconia, firing it same day, and we're delivering these restorations same day. Only posteriors for now, but they're coming out with anteriors soon. So
Right.
um excuse me. I have a little cough today, so I apologize if I cough throughout this thing. These are the man on the left, that's Zach. He's my technician. Mai is like she's like our mini technician. She gets involved when Zach's gone, but they've really just stepped up to the plate with all this technology and really enjoy this new job. They're dental assistants. This new job that a dental assistant can do, and that's run a digital lab.
Yeah, I've worked hand in hand with my whenever Zach actually has some time off. Austin will be like, "Oh, Johnny, hey, can you are you free this day? Zach's off. Mai's gonna be in charge, but remote into my computer, help her nest the
Uh,
file."
and it's worked so good too that like it's crazy that he can be gone. He's such an important. So just so you guys know, I do nothing with the lab. I do nothing with design. He does everything, but when he's gone, we're stuck, and so we need someone else to help us, and that's where Johnny steps in a lot of times. He helps us with advanced design and then simple same day design if Zach's out. So
Yeah,
we'll talk more about that, these workflows, like what this means to you. You don't have to have all the things that I have. There's very basic workflows that you can use with, Johnny and different, some of this technology. There's some really cool things that we'll talk about at the end.
right. So here's Zach.
Um, Here's just a picture of Zach working, and again, this picture is just to show that I just took a dental assistant that graduated from dental school, had very little knowledge of dentistry in general, and even laboratory or technology stuff. There on the bottom, you can see there he's using a Maja, he's using the T scan to check the bite. Um, Empowering your assistants is really, I mean, that's the way to go. They gravitate towards these new responsibilities that they have. I wouldn't do I wouldn't do it any differently. It frees me up to go see more patients. So as I'm seeing patients, they're running this technology, they're doing different things behind the back, in the background. So,
Right. It's been awesome.
just a last shot here of our kind of a good shot of our dental lab. There's Zach working. Again, there's nothing that gives me more that makes me feel good is when I walk in and I see him working on work that, that we need to deliver here in another week or so. And it's cool seeing him just be in his element, and he gets to have that artistic approach, and it's really empowering.
Oh yeah. Wow. So this is the modern day type of dental laboratory. It all kind of starts at data acquisition. Oh, we have a buffer. Oh no.
Little buffering.
Are we gonna buffer through this whole video?
Oh, hopefully not, huh? Um,
Then you'll move on to design. So data acquisition, that entails intraoral scanner, box scanner, PVS impression, whatever that means for you, right? Your lab can either take care of the digitizing of the case or any of that type of aspect. Then we'll move it to the design aspect. So we'll design the case in exocad depending on the kind of restoration we're going to be making. So
That's
here,
probably that's the biggest thing I was gonna say, Johnny, is like there's so many people now that want to buy exocad, and it's like a really expensive software. It's a really hard software to learn. And it's like in a lot of ways, it's like you guys don't need to be buying this stuff, or even you can buy it, but you don't need to be doing every case with it. Like use you guys to do the heavy lifting. You guys know how to use this software, use it every day.
right, like when I train kind of just like off the like beginning when you're starting off in this software, yeah, exocad it's super powerful in an expert's hands, but in a beginner's hands you can also do so much. You don't have to take the software and do the hardest thing possible. Like take it small, do 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit, build up the amount of units you do, then you become really comfortable. After you reach a 4 unit wax up, the posterior teeth just get involved and it's the same concepts.
I wonder if a lot of people know this, but when you have, like, let's say you own the software and we used you as a designer, you can design it and get it pretty much 100% perfect, send it back to us, and we can still make modifications in our software on your design. That's something that's kind of unique. I don't think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, you have exocad, even though you use 3Shape a lot. I still send you guys the dental CAD scenes just in case you ever want to open it.
No, and I love it. And we've taken it. We've made models, and maybe we needed a model or something instead of having to get back to you. We can just make it because we have a minimal understanding of the software. So, yeah, that workflow has been pretty cool. Having both of us have the same software.
Right. And so manufacturing these days looks like removal manufacturing or additive. For zirconia, that's like our #1 product as a modern day laboratory. Zirconia is the biggest type of restoration that we're getting. Our volume is high on zirconia and Emax, right? And then we recently acquired a metal printer, and that was just the image there. And also you got your 3D printing, right? So you got either milling or 3D printing as far as manufacturing.
So maybe we'll talk more about this, but you guys not only use these products that dentists use, you're able to like work with the dentist on like, collaborating with these things. And we also sell these products to them too. So like if I need a new 3D printer, I could buy it from you, and you can not only train me on it, you can design my stuff for it. Like that's kind of cool. I've had you remote into our actual computer and take over the whole thing and get us ready for, printing a denture. So
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah, so our company, it's a CAD CAM reselling company. We resell anything that we use. So if we're not using it, we're not going to resell it. So for 3Shape example, we don't use 3Shape pad as a lab. So we're not going to sell 3Shape. We're big exocad users. Exocad's been driving technicians to empower their artistic ability. And we just want to kind of enforce that. And exocad's been a huge product that has really helped our lab.
Well, you can only really talk about products that you really like love, right? Or that you really want to stand behind. And
Right.
yeah, I love 3Shape, but there's definitely some issues with 3Shape. And you guys with your more advanced workflows, you have to really feel strongly about the software. And so the fact that you guys use it, you guys sell it, you guys train on it,
Yeah.
that speaks a lot for it.
Right. And then we got our finishing. So a lot of restorations are monolithic zirconia type restorations, right? You're milling monolithic zirconia or monolithic Emax.
This, for everyone at home, this is like one of the most important things that you need to teach your team, because if you're going to do any type of in-office manufacturing, you need to learn how to finish these materials, because there's only so much these digital designers can do remotely. They cannot finish the restoration in your office for you. So if I had to start anywhere with this type of stuff, I would start with, using a digital designer like Jonny to design stuff. And then when you print it or mill it, you finish it in your office.
Right. And there are material thicknesses we have to adhere to get these things to manufacture. So what drives my passions? Educating you guys on exocad, making beautiful smiles, same day dentistry, and the whole evolve trend, evolve dentistry, right? Yeah, it's just a slogan. We might say it just for fun, but it really means something to us because we're really trying to evolve dentistry and push the limits of our digital equipment. like Maja, Ivotion. Like Ivotion being added to exocad was huge for us as an exocad user. Like it was only limited to 3Shape for since 2020. And then in October 2022, we were able to get exocad and iVotion. And I think the capabilities there, that we're able to do a lot more because it's a technician's design tool.
I want to mention something with that, just in case people are on this webinar and don't know what iVotion is. iVotion is an IvoClair product. It's a PMMA disc, and we'll show it a little bit later too. But it's a PMMA disc that's it's basically looks like half pink, half white. And through software, somehow it knows, right, how where to mill these teeth and mill the gums, and it just like magically works out. I remember seeing it. I actually saw it first at I went to a 3Shape symposium. I don't even know what year it was. It was the first one, and I remember seeing the mill, and I remember seeing iVotion, and they showed me it, and I was just like that. I was like, at first, I was like, that seems like what's already out there, right? You can mill these products. They're like, no, you can mill the teeth and you can mill the pink, the gums, and then you have to glue them together. You have to bond them together. This is all one product, and so that was pretty unique. And you know, to be able to, you know, there's other companies that maybe do a variation of it, but to be able to do this like in your office or in your dental laboratory, that's what kind of changes the game with this particular product. So. Yeah, and like you said, Johnny, there's people that really like 3Shape and they had to have 3Shape for this iVotion product. Well, now all the people with exocad have the ability to use it, and that's huge. That opens up the floodgates for just a lot more iVotion dentures getting out there into the public, and there really should probably be more iVotion dentures out there.
Oh yeah, the iVotion prosthetics, you're able to do so much. And it just with the manufacturing of that, right? So we're thinking the digital denture. You got your two-piece denture. You mill your teeth, you mill your base, you bond them together. So those might debond. You might get some decay around the cement areas of that denture. And also on the manufacturing, it took about 4 to 6 hours to mill the PMMA of the teeth. It took 4 to 6 hours to mill the PMMA of the base, and that's all separate time. So if you don't have a bunch of mills, you got a lot of lead time just milling that one product, right?
Mhm.
It's not like a zirconia dust where you can mill it out in under an hour, or you know what I mean?
Well, and you're talking about, you know, milling, keeping these dentures digital. Let's go back to analog dentures, waxing these things up, doing your burnout, all that different stuff. I mean, that stuff takes time, and to be able to do this all digitally and with iVotion and milling it, it's crazy.
It is crazy. So those are a bunch of our passions, right? And same day dentistry and 3D printing has really allowed us to kind of change how we do things, right? So in one appointment, you can get a whole arch of teeth fixed up for a patient, right? Oh, we're buffering. Use exocad with the smile design. Make sure you get the photo, or even better, a facial scan, right? And this is an all-in-4 prosthesis, same day design. You finish a design, a full arch design in 30 minutes. You got it on the printer, 20-minute print. You're screwing it in the mouth after some curing and staining. And what are your same day design turnarounds typically?
Just say that. Are you talking about for like all on four?
Not not all in four, but we do a lot of same day dentistry with even preps too. So what's your
Yeah,
kind of
our same day design is, I mean, we try to go as fast as possible, but nothing's as fast as you guys because you guys use this software day in and day out. So that's what's unique with you guys is like, I mean, even if we started doing, let's say all on fours same day, like trying to design it same day or trying to design like a full mouth rehab same day, I don't think we could do it in the time that needs to be done compared to using like a digital designer like yourself, you know what I mean?
right? Or what's your finishing time too? Like after you get a file and you print it, so that's 20 minutes, right? And then
Mhm.
after the printing, what's the post-processing time you
Yeah,
have?
I mean, you know what's tough about those questions is again, I don't do any of this stuff. My assistant does it, right? Zach does it. So I'm the one that gets all the glory and he's the one that's doing all the work. But I know it's not that long. And what's nice about 3D printing too is that you're doing a lot of the work on the front end with the design. all he does is at the end, he's finishing it, curing it, and then he's painting on a little layer of like essentially like this like resin glaze on it, and it makes it pop, looks really beautiful. So, yeah, it's a really fast process for us.
Right. And 3D print has really changed dentistry in the past 2, 3 years or so as a laboratory even, right? So not only are we just manufacturing products anymore, we're designing files, sending it to the office, and they're printing it out, trying it in, and they can have the patient sent home with that try-in. And it's really powerful because we're getting immediate results. And we use
Hmm.
exocad to kind of preserve and repeat those predictable results. Because exocad's a really free software, so you can reuse tooth setups and such. Like your patient, she loves this setup. We're going to keep it for the final. It was a temp, it's going to be the final too. It's the same file, same teeth, same everything. Maybe something changed about your preps. Maybe you thought, oh, I want to clean up this margin here. We would just add the new scan into the existing design, right? And just update the
Yeah.
existing
No,
smile.
that's our favorite thing about these 3D printed try-ins is 3D printing, as we'll kind of go through this presentation, it serves a real purpose in the digital workflow. And there's things that it might not serve us as well on, but for things like this, for try-ins, it's so excellent. And what's cool is, I mean, you could really hack off one side of the teeth if you wanted, take a new scan, and you can send that back into your designer like Jonny, and they can use that to help make the final product even better. So that's what's so cool is that they can take where you're at, and they can take what you've taken from that appointment, what you scanned from that appointment, and they can use that in the final design. So we're constantly using 3D printed try-ins and just this as this middle ground, almost like a wax rim, how you're melting the wax and going back and forth. That's what our 3D printed try-ins are, and they're just a little bit. They just look a little bit better than wax try-ins, and so we really appreciate that workflow. I know patients do too.
A little bit quicker too, right?
Oh yeah, easier, less chair time.
Then for if we're doing a denture, we're speaking denture aspect, right? We're gonna mill the final monolithic denture in a monolithic polymethyl methacrylate puck. And our favorite solution thus far for milling PMMA is been the iVotion. We honestly didn't even we didn't like milling PMMA before in our lab. It took up way too much time, mill time, and we did milling two pieces, teeth and base, was never the cost analysis on it never made sense on a large scale aspect. So the monolithic puck, cutting that down to a 4 hour mill time on a monolithic milling both teeth and base in one, it's been game changer for the lab. And Austin having the mill in his practice is even awesomer.
Well, what's so cool about like this picture that you show right there is that that's a picture I took right out of the mill. And everyone watching at home, you can look and be like, man, I could actually probably just put that right in the patient's mouth. And you really could. It's actually a very smooth product out of the mill. It's almost like it's done. You give it that polish though, then it's going to be really shiny and it's going to feel really good in the mouth. But yeah, out of the mill, it comes really, really well done. So from a dental lab perspective, you guys need to cut down. You guys need to cut down your manufacturing time. You guys make so many of these, right? So you guys need to try to be as efficient as possible. From a dental side of things, you introduce more things into the workflow for your assistants. Let's say, like, hey, we're going to mill these teeth, we're going to mill this base, bond them together. Hope that goes well. Hope that they milled out right, so they're not, that they're fitting together right. All these different things that can be introduced into the workflow can cause issues. So to be able to mill it monolithic like this, it makes it so much easier for the assistant or whoever's manufacturing these products for you.
Monolithic is always stronger than a split file product.
Right, that's a good point. That's why I started doing digital dentures, is because it's all one piece. How many times have you seen a patient come in with a broken denture tooth and it's sitting in their hand and they're like, we have to try to repair this denture and put the tooth back in. Like that won't happen with this stuff. If anything, it'll completely shear off, break, and that'd be a lot of force to be able to do something like that. So I'd say it's
Right.
pretty common for denture teeth to just pop out of dentures, and you just don't have that with these monolithic, materials.
Right. And even like Ivoclar, they're a materials company and their materials are awesome. Best materials on the market, right? And they were awesome traditionally. We got our traditional injection IvoCap technique, right? And we just took all that material science and we brought it digital. And I thought bringing this into exocad and bringing this product to digital really is a game changer because you're taking old science and combining it with new
Mhm.
technology.
Well, what you're saying, that's so true. And what you're saying there, there's so many people that, you get used to the materials that you're used to, and you get used to like the reline materials that you're used to. And so to introduce a new product and have things not work the same way, it's hard for a clinician. So for instance, let's say you bought into the whole, like, let's start 3D printing dentures, like definitive dentures for patients. And a year or two goes by and they need some type of, let's just say they need a reline. That reline's not going to stick to that 3D printed denture. And you can make the argument, oh, let's just reprint them another one, all that stuff. But you have to, I mean, there's design stuff that goes in there and there's finishing stuff that goes into that. So it's not that easy. This material, this iVotion material, it's a traditional denture. So you can treat it like you've always treated any denture. You can reline it with whatever you want. It's just the traditional material where, let's say, like you do a soft reline after surgery with a 3D printed trying. We do 3D printed dentures all the time after surgery. Those soft relines do not stay in as well as they do on these monolithic iVotion dentures.
Right. So you're telling me that you can't bond like any regular reline material to a printed denture?
No, I think there's like solutions with maybe certain types of products, and we use one product that it somewhat adheres to. It kind of falls off a little bit. But when you use that product, so like our particular product, I don't even know what we use. I think it's from Keystone. When we use that particular soft reline product versus on the milled one versus the 3D printed one, like it doesn't come off the milled one hardly. You have to really get it off. And on the 3D printed one, it just almost like slides right off. And so it's just good things to be aware of that, if someone gave a 3D printed denture to like an older dentist and they had to reline it, I bet you they'd be swearing left and right because they would be like, why is this stuff not sticking to this material? So you have to know your materials, but that's one big thing I like about this material is that it's just the old school denture base that we're used to.
Right. Because you need maybe like a resin-based reline material to maybe re bond to that already cured resin base
Hmm.
denture.
Yeah.
So 3D printed versus milled. So we got these dentures here, right? One's a 3D printed denture and one's a milled iVotion denture. Both just as pretty, right? And then this was Dr. Vouter's patient as well. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is kind of a cool case. This was our first, I think, definitive 3D printed denture. And so the bottom denture right there, that's the 3D printed denture, and it looks really nice. And one of the reasons is because Jonny designed it. He did a really nice job. Um, so she's been wearing it now. I think it's been about a year now, and it's done pretty well. There's some wear spots to it. There's almost like this plucking of resin out of it, and so it has that little bit more of like that roughness, and it kind of builds up stain a little bit more than I've seen on traditional dentures. So it would be a really good solution for people that maybe like if you're selling like $100 dentures, but at the end of the day, we're all probably charging our premium prices for our dentures because, we can't work for free necessarily. So on the top, we remade it, and that's the iVotion denture. And the immediate thing that I noticed is, I mean, granted, it's a little bit different design, but the immediate thing I noticed is that the gums, and you probably can't see it too well, but there's just that little bit of that gum characteristic that you can see in traditional denture base. The dentures on the bottom, that's just more of like that just pure pink, monolithic look. And so there's benefits to that one on the top that just maybe looks a little bit more natural. Now, the other thing you notice, the one on the top, this is what's interesting. The one on the bottom is finished, which means that we polished it and did everything we could to make it shiny. The one on the top is not polished yet. So that was straight out of the mill. We just desprued it. You can see those little like nodules sticking on the denture. So that's what it looks like out of the mill. Then you have to give it you can give it character if you want. You can add some mamelons and things like that if you want. But a lot of times we just take it out. We cut off those little sprues and we polish it. So it's been a really easy workflow for us for finishing these restorations. So yeah, so in this particular case, it's really easy to look at 3D printed versus milled. I love my 3D printing, but there's a reason that we're switching to iVotion for our milled products.
Right. Even with the dentures, right? In the lab, we're seeing remakes. Dentures breaking, they're printed dentures. I did a quick search on our lab, broken denture. first picture I pulled up is a broken 3D printed denture, right? So like we're saying, yeah, this might be the miracle, 3D printing dentures, miracle, but in reality, we have to have a solution for those patients that doesn't work for.
Well, and patients, well, one for the clinician, we don't want to, I mean, the answer that you always hear is just 3D print another one. It's so cheap, 3D print another one. That's not like the material is cheap, but the finishing and make like that denture, I can tell right there, you guys did some work to it. It's not that cheap to redo a denture. That takes time and you have to pay someone to do that. So I've moved away from like, let's just be able to do this to save the most money on this particular supply, on the particular product. I'm more interested in like, how can I get it so this patient doesn't come back into my chair again? Because that takes time. Chair time is very valuable. So, um, you know, where Jonny talked about his denture on the left, they're breaking. In contrast, over on the right, that's a material I was posting all over the internet about 3D printing fillings about a year ago, and I have quite a few cases out there, and unfortunately, I've had to replace a lot of them because it's not that they're necessarily breaking, but they're wearing down at incredible rates. They probably would break if they didn't wear, but they're wearing down at incredible rates. And I've seen some literature of like this particular material. It had not the best wear, but it shouldn't have been this bad. So I do think there's things that we're not taking into account with 3D printing in terms of like, how does this stuff last in a salivated mouth that's maybe a little bit more acidic? I think some of these properties are affecting these materials in poor ways where our tried and true acrylic, we've known how that's going to affect, sit in the mouth for years. So I shouldn't say acrylic, PMMA. So yeah, so I love, again, I'm one of the biggest 3D printing advocates, but there's definitely things that it's not holding up, and people have said it was going to hold up.
Me as well. Yeah. I mean, 3D printing's really changed dentistry, and we've just seen for certain applications it doesn't work out. So now, where are we at now? That denture previously on the previous slide. This one held up. How long was this one? Did it in the patient's mouth?
Probably about a year.
A year, right? So
And
the wear
maybe six.
there.
That might be a picture from 6 months actually.
Okay, but regardless, he's this patient's got a ton of space. So I'm exceeding my 3 millimeters of minimum base thickness material. On this case over here, we're not. We're at minimum thickness of base material, 2 millimeters. You know, we can't, we got to stick within our limitations of these 3D printed materials. It's been awesome, but we got to stick within the limitations
Mhm.
so far, right? So with the iVotion solution, we've at the lab been able to combo it in many different ways and case solutions. So for this case here, these three photos are all for the same patient. And this patient has some pretty bad AP spread, probably poor bone. So the implants had to be placed in these specific spots. And doctor came to us with a cry for kind of help. We want to get a really good retention fitting denture in here. What should we do? So we came up with a solution. We got 15 millimeter cantilevers at most on these titanium bars, right? And these are locator overdenture bars. And this was a traditional locator overdenture on the upper, and on the lower photo, we got a iVotion overdenture, and both upper and lower arches are overdentures. But just the maxillary arch is overdenture bars. And this case turned out really beautiful, and it shows kind of what we could do with exocad and iVotion solution. I had this photo before he even got his iVotion dentures, and I added this to my case, and I was able to use this in a smile design to be able to nail the aesthetics.
So that bottom denture, that's the iVotion, that's the monolithic milled.
Yeah, so the bottom photo is upper's iVotion. For the lower, we wanted to confirm the bite record. So what I did is our lab manufactured the maxillary denture in iVotion. It turned out great. We designed the lower at the same time, right? Because we don't want to design arches at separate times. We want to design them together because it is a product that's going to be together and working coexistently in the mouth. So the bottom's a printed try-in.
Hmm.
We were able to combo our solutions with the monolithic iVotion and then the printed.
So now, I could be wrong here, but on the top, if you go back to that overdenture picture that you have in there, the palette, printed versus milled, this iVotion product, I don't know if I'd trust a 3D printed definitive denture hooking, trying to bond in whatever material to the how, hold those locator housings and then snap it into that and the repeated on off on off. I just don't know if that would hold up in 3D printed. And I know
Right.
there's a lot of cool new printed products out there. There's some great ones out there. I wonder, and I could, maybe I'll try some, but like I don't think it's gonna. It stinks getting burnt on a case like that, especially when the product looks so nice and the patient's so happy. It sucks going back and having to like redo it. Maybe you make the 3D printed denture look so pretty and it looks, the midline's on and everything's perfect. But to go back in time and be like, okay, now we got to do this again. Let's use a more predictable product. That's what I'm kind of trying to move away from. So,
Right. I heard that.
I
What
mean, sorry, I should say move towards.
use but using them coexistently and using them for their applications is a really game changer part of dentistry, right? And we're able to combo them with more larger case restorations. So all of these are iVotion denture product, right? So I've put titanium bars I've made in Blender on an iVotion denture. We bonded them together. I've got some manual undercuts in there on the titanium bar. We've had to combo these things sometimes for really hard manufacturing situations, most of the time, because sometimes we got some angles we just can't mill, or even just the size of the puck. So iVotion denture puck, it's 38 millimeters in height. Typical zirconia full mouth puck, your biggest zirconia puck you're getting is a 30 millimeter puck. Sometimes you get patients that are exceeding that 30 millimeter size, and we got to combo that with something just as good or just as even better. So I've comboed zirconia uppers with lowers that they're way too large, and it's been iVotion denture and bar. And I think that's maybe even a more supreme product, because if you got zirconia over zirconia clanking on each other on a full mouth rehab case, you're gonna hear the clanking. It's kind of heavy. Patient probably, they're like, my teeth didn't used to clank like that, right? But with a iVotion denture on one of the arches, you're not receiving that clanking, and then that takes us back to kind of traditional full mouth rehab prosthetic solutions, which is traditional acrylic bonded to denture teeth on a titanium bar. And I've loved these combos that I've been able to do with exocad and the iVotion solution in our laboratory. So exocad had joined forces with Ivoclar in October of last year. I was actually at exocad Insights in Mallorca, Spain when they released it. It was super awesome. I got to go to the Ivoclar booth at the show and play around with the design software firsthand. Like I literally went through the whole base case from start to finish because I was so like nerding out about this new module to exocad that was teaming up with Ivoclar. And
Well,
I
and
what?
I was gonna mention because I think we knew each other at this point because I remember texting you about this because you were there. You were
Yeah.
nerding out about exocad. I was nerding out about that. I have this VHF R5 mill. It's my mills that I have. I have two of them that they're actually being opened to that iVotion is going to be open to VHF. Prior to that, iVotion was only on Ivoclear mills, which they have great mills, and I kind of wish, in some ways I was like, oh, it'd be nice to own one,
Yeah.
but I didn't get one, and so I'm always stuck. You're stuck not able to use that product, and then they release it to VHF. So they made this huge announcement that they're going to make this partnership with VHF and exocad, and I think a lot of people just started salivating at that.
Oh yeah, there everyone was salivating. They're like, "Wow, we can mill it on another mill." But also that PM7 is an awesome lab mill. It's amazing. So that solution on that mill, and then also on the VHF line of mills, And just opening up your kind of platform and your product, it's game changer. So always when you're
Mhm.
buying a product, keep in mind like, what can I really do with this product? Don't be kind of closed down to specific materials or lines because you might want to venture out just thinking about the future. Like even with 3D printing materials, don't get locked into one specific printer's material. Like, if you bought an Einstein a year ago, you're locked into those desktop health resins, right? Think about that.
I thought about that.
I thought about that. Hey, it's still amazing that it's a still amazing
We use
printer.
it. We use them every day. We love them, but yeah, we love them and we hate them.
Love them and hate them, exactly. Amazing printers. They're so quick. And that's like also a game changer about printers, the speed. You could get an arch in 20 minutes, right? Like that's game changer. You
Hmm.
could get a product in 20 minutes. So our vision, or at least my vision, once I saw that in my Orca Spain at Insights, I was like, my vision, wow, I can add facial photos, I can do combos with bars and iVotion dentures and kind of bring us back to traditional kind of product solutions and combo them with digital dentistry and their advanced technology, like the Maja. Dr. Vetter has a Maja. He sends me Maja files all the time, and I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but Maja is the jaw motion tracking system. So it's kinematic motions of the mandibular arch. And that's basically based off of the patient's functional movements. So you got your dynamic movements of lateral left, lateral right, chewing, speech, MIP, right? And you're able to incorporate them into our CAD design and have a product that flawless. How has your experience been?
Well, yeah, it's been great. And excuse me. The more information you can put into these design softwares without human interaction, the better the outcome's going to be, right? Maja, we have that input of of the jaw relation record. You have that in there. You design it, and then you're milling it on a mill with no, less human interaction. iVotion, you're getting this product. The product, all the stuff that you put in is the stuff that you're getting out. And that's kind of the first time we've ever been able to do that. We haven't had, with digital dentistry, that's allowed us to do that. In the past, we never had that. You could, someone messes something up, and there's so many different opportunities in the analog workflow to change the outcome at the end.
Right, right. And you're always getting what you expect. Your
Yeah.
expectations are already made with that try-in.
Hmm.
So what is this one? This one's very
Yeah.
beautiful photo.
Yeah, that's just yeah, that was a pic. We knew we had this webinar today, and I just delivered an iVotion over iVotion denture, and I took this picture, and I thought it turned out really well. I mean, it kind of looks like real teeth there. Kudos to Zach, my assistant that made this. He actually showed me he specifically went in on his iVotion denture and gave some. I don't even know if he hasn't even seen this picture yet. He's on vacation right now. But he put in some mamelons, and he put in some of that artistic work there, and I just think it turned out really well. And so it's really cool to see this plastic puck of pink and white, and it goes into the mill, and you see the mill working, and out comes this type of product, and the patient was super excited about it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this product.
So exocad, I don't know if anyone's familiar with exocad. It's one of the leading dental CAD design softwares. It's really great for beginners and also very powerful in experts' hands who knows how to work the software. And we're able to teach everyone how to do that. And it's been a huge part of what we do here. And it's an open software or works with any scanner, but mainly, exocad was bought out by Align Technologies, so it's paired with the Itero kind of Align solution. But thus far, Align has never inhibited or changed anything about exocad. They've kept exocad, and Align is Align. All we've seen is really good additions to the software. Like you're able to add different like when you're scanning, I'm able to see like what the scanner saw at that time of the scan. Super cool. And also, you scan a case, it's already entered in your database. So I'll go over the database a little bit in the design video. So I got a little design video here. It's a 14-minute long video on how to design an iVotion denture. We're going to be working on one single arch, and we'll talk a little bit about, like Dr. Vedder was saying, there's half pink and half white. How does it magically have the CEJ so perfect, right? So I'll be able to show you in the design software how that's possible. Did you want to hit on any features before I go into the design video tutorial?
No, I'd say keep going and we can talk as it's going.
Cool. So here's the design video. Um, I'm going to start in my CAD database. And what you do, this is Ivoclar's version of the iVotion. Right now, you have to purchase the Ivoclar dongle and the DB dongle and the iVotion module. And this is all a whole separate software and a separate dongle. And that's how that works. So it's in the full denture module. Typically, we teach people how to design in the partial denture module dentures and normal exocad, because the full denture module really hasn't been that nice of a module until Ivoclar got their hands on it. And I think they built a really nice full denture module. And that leads down to the simple fact of their libraries. Their CAD libraries are awesome. The upper and lower design, you do the model analysis and the teeth automatically load into occlusion, and you're able to move them around in chain fashion together as in class 1 occlusion. So it's been really awesome module addition. Like it's game changer. So we've never really liked the full denture module, to be totally honest with you, because it wasn't like setting teeth or how we would our workflows for setting wax ups. So our database, I pasted my data into my folder. I hit save on the case. And in exocad, you have a little 3D preview, and we can preview our STL files before we hop into our design. So we have a maxillary 360 denture scan and a mandible 360 denture scan and a bite scan. And the bite was taken in the mouth. And we'll go ahead and hit design.
As you talk about all this stuff, Johnny, it just makes me so appreciative of people like you. Because as a dentist, if I never saw exocad before and seen some of the things that you're clicking, I'd be like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to be able to learn this stuff? This seems like so beyond me. And for me, a lot of it is. But it's so nice that we have people like you that, like, I don't have to do this in my office. Yeah, I have a mill that can make it, but I don't have to actually design it here. You can design it and send it to me, and then I can mill it.
Right. Or I could teach anyone to design them in your office.
That's
Zach's really
And that's
efficient.
another point that's super unique too. That I feel like that's crazy that you guys are willing to teach us how to do this, to essentially teach us out of you having a job in some ways. But we talked about that earlier, that like you won't be out of a job because all the things that you support us with, we're always going to be coming back to you, right? So that's so cool that you guys aren't worried about that, aren't trying to, I'm not going to teach them that trick or this trick. You guys are open books and can support us on this software, but also for, like, that's not really for us, just make it for us. You guys are willing to do that too.
Right. So we'll go into the design again. So we got our lower jaw scan. We're going to load in the lower. And then our bite rim, that's basically going to be your lower 360 scan. So essentially that would just be the bite rim. And then our antagonist is our opposing arch, which is in this case going to be the maxillary. So patient likes the upper denture, and we just want to remake the lower denture. Maybe the interdigitation, the cusp interdigitation wasn't that nice. So we're going to just fix that up real quick. So model analysis. This is the first step. We're going to do a wizard-based workflow. exocad works expert mode and wizard mode. Wizard will take you through a next type of workflow, and it'll basically walk you through the whole design. So you're never lost, right? But expert, you can click any button at any time. It's just basically ADD mode. So on model analysis, the first step, we're basically defining important points to where the module is going to set the teeth. And this is also a huge part about this module, is this module works very nice with setting the teeth. So we defined our 3 points, and now it's asking for us for our first molar positions on the opposing arch. So we got our patient left first molar and our patient right first molar. Now it's asking for the premolar. So you're going to click the premolar, patient left, patient right, defines which side, and then the incisal edge position of central incisors where those lower incisors are supposed to go. So right in between 8 and 9 lingually, and I'm able to move that midline, and I want that to go kind of down the palatal suture. Um, and it typically places it in a really nice spot. So next is the denture tooth placement. But we're still in wizard mode, but as you can see, our denture, we have to kind of digitally pour this. It's just one whole 360 denture scan. So I need that intaglio separated. So if we right click on our background, we can hit select only surface and select just the intaglio. And this is like a reverse pour of impression, a digital large denture impression. So you can scan anything, and then we're able to invert it and delete that top half, and we've got an impression now, a digital impression. So we digitally poured the model essentially, and we took it to the model room and we trimmed the borders of our records here. And now we can go back into wizard, right? So I went from expert tool and then back into wizard for it to prompt me the next step. And we're choosing our tooth library at this point. So I know there's tools that Ivoclar has to choose libraries based on shape, which is really cool. I've always thought maybe like a app where you can load in the set of libraries would be super cool. And you can select the library. But for now, I'm just flipping through trying to find a really good size because as you can see, this ribbon is what separates the pink and the white of that puck. And that ribbon is defined the CEJ, or the cemental enamel junction of the denture, changing the white and the pink. And it's that ribbon is what the puck is. And all the pucks are made like that. So there's maxillary pucks and mandible pucks. So they're all made based on either like a maxillary or mandible type shape. So when you're designing, you just want to make sure you use the right arch when you're milling. A couple of times our techs have milled the wrong arch on the wrong puck. So I'm using the tooth placement tool to set my teeth. And in this simple move all simultaneously tool, I'm able to move the teeth in a chain fashion where they're all together. And that moves the ribbon with it. And that's what we want. And now in the chain mode, I can move our posterior slider disc to fit the buccal corridor. So we're way lingual the ridge, and I'm going to bring that so it matches the buccal corridor of that previous denture. And I'm keeping into mind the occlusion and where it's hitting against the opposing. But also we have to keep into mind our ribbon. Our ribbon's very important in this design aspect because this is what's separating the two material shades. So in designing, I'm always keeping that into mind. And that's literally like the only difference of your challenges when working with the solution is this ribbon. So your ribbon needs about 9 millimeters I measured for the base to reach the bottom CEJ. So 9 millimeters. So if you have a case that's kind of under that, you're going to see white on the palette. Or even if you're running short on material thickness on the buckle, you're going to have white in those areas that you might not want them. So your cases, you want to keep into mind the amount of restoration room you need. So it's around 8-9 millimeters. So I'm using this chain mode to set these teeth, right? And I'm flipping through, making sure it's all good with that. So next it takes us to freeforming. Freeforming is a tool. It's like your digital waxing tool. You can pull the teeth, and I'm going to pull this because it's crashing really hard on that molar. I think that traditional denture molar was a little bit too high on that upper there. And now I'm looking at it from occlusal view of the denture to make sure my interdigitation is appropriate. And I'm just moving around with these tools. So you got your tooth placement, tooth parts. You can move around the cusp tips. I also have some like embrasures. I think they're a little bit too far apart. And that's all right with the iVotion solution too, because when you mill it, it won't mill a hole in between of those contact areas. If there's a space there, it's gonna just be white. And all you're gonna do is take a disc and you're gonna cut your embrasure out and kind of design the embrasure to be really nice. So next, we're setting our insertion direction. So that's how the denture is going to go on and off. And this is your denture base bottom. And you have specific offsets based on the restoration. But at 0.01, you're not changing much. You're at a 10 microns, right? And now we're drawing our gingiva border. So we're just marking our perimeter of the denture base. And we're just drawing that right in the vestibule, the bottom of the U. And you're just going to complete this perimeter tool, and it's going to generate a set of gingiva. And it actually generates pretty nice. You don't have to change too much about the gingiva design, but I love festooning. It's so fun sometimes. So you'll see the gingiva generates. But look at our CEJ. So that's the ribbon, right? So it generated right to the ribbon there. And our ribbon's a little off in our contacts. So I have to edit my ribbon location, and you're able to swing around this ribbon. You can do that in the line mesh manual tool, and also there's a ribbon control ribbon tool in the right click on background. So I'm just manually moving this ribbon. And sometimes this workflow, I've had to move the buccal corridor out on these denture setups and not really change much about it other than moving it buccally. And all I've had to do with this ribbon is pull the ribbon to the anterior region, and it pulls the contact areas into the proper spots. So I like how they designed the ribbon because it allows for wider arches too. So it's very customizable. You're just limited a little bit by that blue ribbon separating the white and the pink. So we're redoing our denture base top design part because we moved our ribbon, and now you can see our CEJ locations are in a really nice spot, interproximally. It looks proper. All right. So we'll hit next, and next is freeforming your gingiva base. And this is where I'm going to festoon. And I'm also going to look at my material thicknesses. So I want to exceed 2 millimeters of material thickness, especially around, this is a locator housing case. So I want material around the housing area. And so I'm going to add a bunch of material, make sure I don't see the color map wheel exceeding that limitations that it's asking me for. And then I'm looking at my old denture that this patient had just to make sure I'm not making it more bulky than what they had originally. If so, I want to get it pretty similar as far as size in the mouth. I don't want them drastically changing too much about their denture unless it was a really horrible denture, but it wasn't too bad. So here's festooning, right? I can go over how I festoon. I'm going to skip a little bit through, and I'm just using remove, and you can spend a lot of time festooning. It's like a pastime. A lot of designers will find gingiva design really fun because you're able to create the peaks and valleys and the root structures, and it's a fun part of design. So I'll skip through all the festooning, and this is what it kind of looks like as our finished festooning product. Not too shabby on a quick festoon, right? And the anatomic tool has a cut ribbon. And cut the ribbon, it'll cut the gingiva right at where the ribbon meets. And that'll allow me to confirm that I'm not exceeding any limitations of the gingiva. So if the gingiva is past the ribbon, it'll cut it completely. And sometimes I'm going to have to go over that limit if I'm going past some material thicknesses. Now it's going to adapt the teeth to base, and the denture's done. So it's a pretty simple workflow. You can design one of these arches in 14 minutes. And same with kind of a full over full. If I were to have chosen a full over full case, the upper and lower setup would have loaded in an occlusion. and that's due to the metadata of the Ivoclar CAD library. But their library only extends to this denture module. I see a future where they have a set of more libraries in other modules, not just the denture tooth library, because their libraries are very beautiful and lots of people ask about them. And the design is merging and saving, and it's basically taking all these files up in your top left window here in exocad, your show hide windows, and it's merging all these files together to get a complete product, a merged final monolithic product. And that's what that looks like. And now the client's going to go off and print this on their printer for a try-in, and they're going to confirm the bite of the patient. And if they like it, they'll just say, go to mail and give me a tooth shade and gingiva shade. And I love having the options for teeth and gingiva shades. And this is what the file looks like. And that's that. That is the design workflow. And if you ever have any help, any questions on exocad, feel free to reach out to us at Evolve. We love educating everyone on exocad. We believe in exocad. exocad's an amazing product.
That all just seems like too much for me. And it's good because I need to be focused on taking care of patients in the chair, and to be able to use you as an outsourced designer,
Right.
it's huge for our workflow.
Right. And I think this is dentistry is going to, as a technician or a technician in the future, I think it's all going to stay pretty artistic. There's still art in this, and that's something that can't be computer generated.
Right.
Some custom ability of that person operator. And then talking about our innovation, right? So we're always trying to innovate here and creating kind of workflows for full art. So people talk about photogrammetry, but here's an intraoral. I helped develop an intraoral scan body to where it's linked together, and you can scan a full arch, cross arch, and decrease the amount of inaccuracies you have when scanning a full arch. And with them linked together and being very close, your cross arch inaccuracy isn't being changed because your scanner's seeing the scan body at every point cross arch when you're scanning across the arch. They're milled out of zirconia, so you're also scanning zirconia as if it's scanning just as well as a restoration. And the library is really what's game changer. Is we're able to change the tolerance of the screw that it's seating into. So not only are people not using tie bases as much anymore, they're just going screw direct into the multi-unit abutment. And that's been awesome for same-day dentistry because you don't have to bond or add that extra variable to your product, is luting a tie base in. You haven't luted any tie bases in your printed full arches, right? Yeah. Next slide. So how do you get involved in the iVotion workflow? So there's many different ways and anyone can do it, right? Depending on where your dentistry's at and where you are and what you want to be doing, you can get involved.
And that's so key. That's so key, Jonny, because I have so many people that reach out to me, friends that are local to this area, people that are online. And I feel like what I always hate about these types of presentations is, we showcase like all this cool technology and exocad and having mills, and people probably leave these types of things and they're just like, well, I don't have that stuff, so I can't do any of that stuff. And that's what's not necessarily true. iVotion, I bet you in some ways it was probably more tailored to the dental laboratories. And so, yeah, you can make it in your office as a clinician, but you can also use your lab. There's a lot of labs across the nation that do this. Maybe your own lab does it. And if they don't, that Evolve Dental does it, so you can start from the very basic analog PVS impression workflow, and go all the way through and not have to have any of this technology. And so, yeah, I can let you talk about some of these different points, Jonny.
Right. So exactly. We want to empower you to do the dentistry that you want to do, or use the products you want to use, or use the kind of chemistry that is out there. So with this solution, we're able to add all these digital features to this material. So you can send an impression to the lab. The lab can manufacture everything for you, right? And you still can take a picture for us to add in Smile Creator, and we can use that as our tool. If you just have a scanner, right? You send your scans to the lab prints the try-in, and then the mills the try-in, right? You can just have a scanner. That's we see all the time. You can have a different combo of scanner and printer. And a lot of people these days, the percentage is increasing of the scanner and printer category. A lot of people have jumped on the printer wave, wouldn't you say, right? Within the
Mm.
past 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you can send the scans in, right? Get a design file and then print that try-in in the office. And some people even do same day design stuff like that. And they'll be like, I got a patient in the chair, I need a denture. Let's get it printed out and we'll do that. Bite works. You need to adjust the bite, you use that product, you take new records, and we'll apply it to the design, and the lab can mill the final. So then you got your scanner software combo. So you just have a scanner and you happen to fumble across getting that software. You can learn how to design it and also oversee people in your practice designing, and you can design it with them. QC the design. Like, are you QCing designs for your technician at all? Sometimes he probably pulls you in and gets your opinion, right? Yeah. So you're involved in your lab. It's just you're not breathing down his neck. So, and then your last combo, scanner, printer, mill. You can manufacture everything just like Austin Vetter. And then here's our Instagram handles. We Instagram's been a great way. We've been kind of sharing our content and sharing what we're passionate about. Give us a follow on social media and reach out if you have any, if you are interested in more about what we do. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. Thank you.